Everybody, welcome to Matt Men, your source for all things professional wrestling. I'm Zarian. Of course, I'm joined by Rich Stambolian. What's going on, Rich?
Hey, what's going on, dude?
Got a little treat for you guys, a little bonus here. You know, we like to do these every now and then. We don't do too many of them, but whenever we do, it's always someone fantastic, right?
Absolutely.
I can't think of one time that we've had a guest on. We don't have a lot of guests on. I like it that way. But today, I got a fantastic guest. Here to talk about a number of things, but also a little plug. Catalyst Wrestling celebrating their 5th anniversary on Sunday, April 10th, with stars from everywhere. AEW, NWA, on a massive card. This dude is on the card. Colby Corino. What's going on?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
Great. Last time you were on. Huh?
How many two-time guests have you had?
How many two-time guests? You know what? Let's figure this out.
One.
Who is it?
Rocky Romero was the repeat guest of the century.
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
Yeah, so you and Rocky, I guess, right? We've had you and Rocky
company up there.
Great company up there. Listen, you've been on a roll. The last time you came on, I think we were just getting out of the whole pandemic, and people were starting to go around. How has it been for you? You know, traveling and wrestling all around the country.
It is. It feels so much like back to normal. I'm pretty sure I said the same thing during our last conversation, but like, it really feels truly back to normal now. Like, I'm wrestling 2 to 3 shows a weekend all over the country. Tonight I'm in Orlando, Florida. And then, as you said, on Sunday, I'm going back up to New York to wrestle Akira. So the world's opened back up again. It's nice.
Has it been different, like, in the sense of, like, what's different for you, even, like, within the locker room or just traveling or just how people are perceiving this go-around? Because, you know, it was scary. A lot of people were up and coming. A lot of people's careers were beginning to flourish. And then all of a sudden, the rug got pulled under them for 2 years. How has that been? Is there a difference for you?
There's a slight difference. Like, a lot of people are a little bit more, like, cleansely, I guess. They sanitize a lot more and whatnot. Shaking hands isn't really as much of a thing, which I don't think anyone's really complaining about that, though.
They do a little good brother handshake. You don't even have to touch it, you know?
But now we got the fist bump, though, so that's a little easier.
Yeah, I was talking to somebody and from WWE, and they're like, yeah, it just seems like people are a little bit more grateful that this is back. You know, the people that were complaining, they're like, man, I gotta go on this loop, or I gotta travel, I gotta do this. You're seeing less of that because you're just so happy to be back to working and doing what you do. I wanted to see, you know, I was curious how the difference is, you know.
You know what? Like, now that you mention it, I do notice like that little bit of like a jubilee in the locker room. That like everyone's got a little pep in their step about it. Like it seems like everyone's like spirits are a lot higher. Maybe that's the reason why. Maybe because everything is feeling a lot more. I don't know the word. Normal, I guess.
Are you excited for international travel for wrestling?
Oh man, of course I am. I've been waiting for quite a few years to get over to the UK and Japan. But I got some unfinished business in the U.S. first that I'm really focusing on. I don't want to like divert my attention to international markets before I conquer the market I'm already in.
Well, I mean, you've been doing fantastic stuff the last. I mean, even right before the pandemic too. You were kind of on fire here, especially with Catalyst Wrestling. You're there all the time. Where do you see like the next year headed? You know, as far as professional wrestling goes, this is a really interesting time, right? Like, I don't think we've had this much pro wrestling content available ever, and you know, getting exposed and finding new followers or people that like your work. How is that for you in this, you know, this go around?
Well, it seems like a lot of people are. I'm sorry, I just had like a total brain fart. Can you repeat the question one more time? I had a really good answer, I promise.
Pretty much, you know, pro wrestling has changed astronomically the last 2 years. You know, pre-pandemic it was starting to, but now it's you're kind of starting to see things fall into where they're gonna be with, you know, NWA and you know, all the indies coming back and AEW, New Japan, everybody kind of having content everywhere and so much content. Has that made a difference for you that, you know, things are more readily available? There's so much more places to go?
Okay, I remember my answer now. There's so much content, and it's not like the content is overlapping each other. I feel like almost every different promotion is promoting a different product that has like different like attributes and like different draws to it, and not even just like the wrestlers themselves, but how it's presented and like the production aspects of it. And I feel like right now it's just like a smorgasbord of what's available to us. So it seems like a great time to be a wrestling fan. At least it is for me, from my wrestling fan perspective.
Listen, and you grew up in the business. You know, you grew up knowing wrestling, a tremendous knowledge base of wrestling, an advantage over a lot of other people. Where do you see it falling? This is, right now, media boom, I would say. Is it a business boom? I guess so. I mean, wrestling is, as a whole, probably really doing better than most people expected it to do post-pandemic. But how do you see this kind of falling into place as someone that is, followed wrestling your entire life?
I hope it fall like I hope it's not like a bubble where it bursts, and it's more of just like it turns back into like how the territories were back in the day, to where different like a different company would have major like control over a market, and it allowed for a bunch of different companies to stay alive.
Colby, I got a question for you. So,
what's up?
Growing up as, in a wrestling family, as a wrestling fan, at this point in 2022, what does it for you as a wrestler and as a fan?
Ooh. So,
I like that question, Rich. That's a good question.
As a fan, I'm a huge fan of watching deathmatch wrestling. I probably watch just about every modern deathmatch show there is.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot. And then as far as like what like really speaks to me as like a wrestler, like I feel like I find that in whatever wrestling I watch. There's not like one type of wrestling style I like. As a wrestler, I really like to dissect and like break down the matches, like any type of match really, and just see how the different like environments and the different rules play into the stories of the match and how it works out that way.
I got to take a lot of that too. When the rules are playing a part into it,
yeah,
they do a good. AEW does a fantastic job at that. They've been really, they're really as far as like in-ring storytelling and continuing, they do a fantastic job with it. So I mean, the style changes too, right, over time. Like pro wrestling style now. Do you think we're in a hybrid style now where? You got guys like Kevin Owens, for example, right? They're able to do flips, they're able to do so much, and he's a big guy. Do you think that's the style moving forward? Is this somewhat of a hybrid?
All right. So actually, I think that we're in a bit of like a transition time right now, to where we're going to go back to where the focal point of wrestling is the characters and the storylines again. That is my prediction right now. Like I feel like we've seen just about every flip someone can do. We've seen just about every power maneuver that a big muscular guy could throw a little guy through. But I think we got to find that what's going to keep us watching week to week now. And I think that it's the characters and the story that's going to do that going forward.
You're going to upset a lot of people.
But
you're absolutely right. I think we've had a tremendous boom period for wrestling since 2016, 2014, let's say. But I think 2016 was the beginning of a lot of people getting exposed to that work style. Like the great work rate. It was readily available. New Japan was booming at that point, and a lot of people got exposed to that. And now, we've seen everything. Maybe it is time we're going back to more storytelling. I mean, that's WWE's plan right now, right?
Yeah.
They're more into story. How do you think the indies are going to evolve? You're kind of everywhere. You've wrestled in so many places. You've seen styles evolve. How do you think the indies are going to evolve in this 2022 on?
I in the same way that that it's going to be more of a focus on the characters and the storylines, I think. And I think we're seeing that in like in like a more minor sense now, into where the people that have these larger than life characters are getting more and more over in social media and in person. Like they sell more tickets to the shows that they're on. They have way more followers than all of us. They sell more merch, and tying that all into what we do in the ring, I think that's the next step for indie workers too. I don't think it's like, I feel like it's just the next big step for wrestling as a whole on any level.
Also, the availability of having having income coming in from outside of wrestling, even though you're a wrestler, has been a big part. Also, I know numerous guys that are making tremendous amounts of money just either Twitch streaming or selling their merch or doing cameos and having all these things available for you. You don't have to be, getting paid $1,000 an appearance a show to be able to make a decent living in pro wrestling anymore because you have so many different ways you can substitute that income. Do you think that's helped, encourage guys to kind of stay in the business a little bit longer and kind of work on their craft a little bit more?
I hope so because I feel like Colt Cabana was one of the first person to ever do that and like show that an indie wrestler can make merch, sell merch, and make it a living for themselves without needing a big company behind them. And I feel like we're seeing that with a lot of wrestlers that aren't signed to large companies right now that are able to have a living through wrestling, through the Twitch, the merch, anything, all different revenue streams.
Rich, I'm going to ask you something. I'm going to turn it to you.
Sure.
Do you remember the first indie match you've seen?
Oh, like in person?
In person.
It was definitely like an NYWC show.
Was it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Like in like Deer Park somewhere.
I could be wrong, but I think it was like I saw the Bushwhackers against like I forget. It was like two guys I didn't know, and it was in a gymnasium.
Yeah.
At Holy Cross.
Yeah. They used to run shows at my high school, and it was like Jobber number 1, Jobber number 2, a bunch of guys you may have heard of, like Grim Reaper from NYWC.
Yeah.
And then Gangrel.
Gangrel was always on those cards. It's amazing, and that's what it was for a long time, and that's kind of leading into this. It was more, guys of the past, wrestling guys that really, they're just starting in the business. You didn't have guys like Colby, touring the indies and having appearances and doing all this stuff. I think it's fantastic. I think it's great that it's kind of more refined now, that we could see more really good wrestling happen. And you're doing some amazing stuff. What has been the biggest moment for you so far this year?
Oh man, probably wrestling for the NWA World's Junior Heavyweight title.
I mean, that's
probably
a big
been
deal.
my biggest moment. Yeah. But I still got another opportunity. They just announced yesterday that I get a one-on-one shot with Homicide on April 30th in Kentucky. So maybe that will be my biggest moment, is actually winning the belt.
Listen, I never say never. I think you're very capable of winning that title. And Homicide's a fantastic guy. You mentioned Homicide. Homicide is going to be on the Catalyst show also. NWA Junior Heavyweight Champion Homicide battles Pretty Peter Avalon. And you're facing the Death Samurai Akira. Tickets are now available at CatalystWrestling.com. You could go check it out over there. I was planning on coming, but I have to do a radio show. I have to do Wrestling Observer Live on Sunday. So
oh no!
I kind of yelled. I yelled at the guys at Catalyst. I was like, dude, you do it on Saturdays. What are you doing? Just for me, selfishly, I want it on a Saturday.
I was very thrown off. Like I told you that I'm here in Orlando on Friday. Tomorrow I'm going to spend a day at Disney. I actually thought Catalyst was tomorrow, and I was going to go home on Sunday, and then I realized I had a whole day off, so I was like, oh, okay, let's go to Disney.
What a rib. They changed the date on you. Listen, man, you're doing unbelievable stuff. I want to have you on again when we have some more time, where we could I want to dive into like what got you into wrestling. I mean, obviously you're dead wrestler, right? I mean, that plays a big part in it, but who was the guy? Like, who? Actually, I'll ask you this. We'll end it on that.
Yeah.
Who was the guy that outside of your father? Who was somebody that you saw and you're like, I need to become a wrestler? Or was it
Davey
your father?
Richards?
Who was it?
It was Davey Richards.
Was
Davey
it really?
Richards.
Wow.
It was.
That was it.
I seen how he wrestled all the time, and it was just like, man, like I want to do that.
He's a great
That was
worker,
like
too.
the turning point for me. 100%.
That's interesting. That is a later pick.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times you hear guys that say like, well, like Austin, I was a big Austin, but that's a real answer.
Oh yeah, like I like that's always in my mind. Like I've watched wrestling my whole life, but like it's like this. There was this moment that it switched. That like when I was watching David Richards versus Tyler Black or Seth Rollins from Ring of Honor, Death Before Dishonor 8 in 2010, that it's just like a switch flipped, and I was like, this is what I want to do. This is the type of wrestling I want to be.
It takes such a special type of person to be able to actually say that and do it. I know a lot of guys that have said that. They've seen something in a match and they've said, this is what I want to be a wrestler. Mm-hmm. I almost equate it to the guy at a party and it's like, I could do stand up.
Yeah.
I could be. My friends tell me I'm a funny guy. We know somebody like that.
Yes.
Rich. We have a mutual friend. Every time he comes over, he starts. I have a very well known stand up comedy friend. And whenever like he comes up in conversation, he's like, I always thought about doing comedy. I'm like, you can't do comedy. You're not funny. I always say it's like one of those. But to be able to actually go and become successful at your art and do this, fantastic stuff. And we're big fans of you here, obviously. And we hope to see so much more from you and everything you're doing this Sunday. You can check it out in person. Catalyst Wrestling in New York City. You go to catalystwrestling.com and get your tickets there. You're going to be facing Akira and a whole lot more on the card. Also, Darius Carter defends the Catalyst Championship, the Catalyst title, against AEW's JD Drake. So this is a big card for Catalyst. Great job by those guys over there. I know they all work hard. Matt works hard. The whole team over there. And and listen, very much appreciate you coming on, man. Always.
Thank you for having me. Always.
And we'll have you on. We'll have you on a regular Matt Man, and we'll have you sit in, and we'll just shoot the shit.
Yeah.
Be the first 3-time guest.
Be the first 3-time. You know what? We're gonna end up shipping you a title at this point.
Man,
we'll rack them up like Flair, and then we'll cut back on your number. We're like, no, that doesn't count. 22-time appearance, but really an 18-time appearance. We'll do one of those. It only aired in
the
Japan.
Board of directors have.
The board of directors did not. Yeah. Thanks a lot, man.
Valid title win.
Always a pleasure.